Coming to you live from a little grass shack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it's the Junior Kekuewa Jr. Show, starring Junior Kekuewa Jr.
He's starting to bug me.
Join Junior along with the Wayne Borje Band as he makes any kind from Hawaii.
Same old thing every week.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Junior Kekuewa Jr.
Oh, how you Hawaiians? How you Hawaiians? How you Hawaiians? How's the Hawaiians? Okay, Hawaiians. Ricky? Okay, whoa, hey. Okay, never mind. All right, I'm just sitting here amusing myself. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some very interesting things, but first, attitude of gratitude. Okay, so we're just looking at the stats and like, whoa, like we are increasing Apple Core Media, which is Apple Podcasts. Is increasing, okay? Our Spotify is up, web browsers are up, iHeartRadio is up. I mean, whoa. And Apple Core Media and Apple Podcasts. So there's two platforms that carry us with Apple. So thank you, Steve Jobs. We salute you in the highest. We have new countries. Okay, so we just like to acknowledge Bolivia, Bahrain, Jamaica, Nepal, and Zambia. That's our latest ones, right? So we're in 42 states and 72 countries. That's where our podcast is currently. That's where we have the stats of. So we get these things live, like a live accounting. So somebody listens to us in, Zambique, right? Mozambique. So, okay, is that yeah, I think so. It's been years since I've been in geography class, but anyway, so when somebody does that, right, they listen to it. Let's say they just listen in Nigeria, okay, for lack of a better kind. Okay, the kind. That's for you people who do not live in Hawaii. The kind just means that kind. Okay, in we call it pidgin. That's another podcast, Hawaiians. Okay, but anyway, so but when that happens, it shows us that somebody listened in Nigeria, and then it gives us like percentages. So if we look at the percentages, percentage-wise, audience, that kind of thing, like, whoa, the United States is number one, okay, because, we're worldwide, but the United States has the biggest audience for us anyway. And then the second is India. So they have this, for you people in India, we'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. So the people in India get us on this network called Ghana, Gaana, and they also supply neighboring countries like Pakistan, close to them, right? And their percentage on our podcast is increasing. So thank you very much, people of India. Okay, we love you guys. Aloha from Hawaii. And now on to the podcast. Okay, so we talk about a lot of stuff, right? We talk about manifestation. Okay, this is a law of attraction comedy podcast. Okay, and what does that necessarily mean? That means, like, I tell you stories about how I did stuff. Okay, because that's all I know. I just know what I did. That's the only experience I have. And it's not like it's a miraculous type existence. Okay, like I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not, but the things I wanted to do, the things I had in my head to do, okay, I never wanted to build $1 billion company, okay? I never wanted to, be the number one, motivational coach in the United States, although that would have been nice. I mean, I would have accepted that. But my journey was different, okay? My journey was to teach. Tony Robbins is not a teacher. Okay, I'm sorry, he's a coach. There's a big difference. But Tony Robbins is really good at what he's good at. Okay, and he has scaled. right? And he knows how to scale and, all of that. And that's really good for him. Okay. But for me, like the original plan was, okay, sing to the girls and get paid for it. And my first thought, right? Because I was watching, and I always tell you guys this, okay? And you guys know me the best out of all the people on social media. On all of my platforms, I have 150,000 whatever on TikTok, and on Facebook I have 56,000 some odd, people, and then of course there's 35,000 whatever on Instagram, like all over the place, okay? None of them know me as good as you guys, okay? Because I will tell you guys, like, what happened. I will tell you guys the inside. I will, we can't name names because, boy, my attorney was having a heart attack when I started doing that. I did that the first couple of seasons. I was like, hey, take no prisoners, and then I was, thinking like I was doing radio back in the day. We took no hostages, so we took no prisoners. And so prisoner, hostage, same thing. Anyway, so, and then, but anyway, so we started saying like, okay, we're not going to name names, but, like that. So, and my attorney is very happy now because he doesn't have to respond to any lawsuits. So, and I'm happy. I'm happy too. So anyway, but yeah, so you guys know me better. Okay. And I got to tell you guys, like it's been a journey. Okay, I am technically not supposed to be here, first of all. Okay, now what were, I know what you're thinking, like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about speaking the dream, your voice, okay, and how your voice commands, okay, and how your voice draws things to you. And you may not think about this. I mean, go, okay, well, my voice. But ancient civilizations had a different opinion. Ancient civilizations, okay, when you get angry at somebody and you yell at somebody or you curse at somebody or you curse in general, okay, yeah, stuff happens. Okay, stuff happens. Now, it's not like voodoo, witchcraft. It's not like that. It's vibration. It's energy, frequency, vibration, and velocity. Okay, God spoke the world into existence in Genesis. Now, if you guys believe in the Bible, okay, I'm not here to push Bible, not here to push Christianity or Judaism or anything, but I will tell you that yeah, you speak things into existence, okay, through your subconscious, okay, but there's another element to your throat chakra, okay, and that's where it comes from, okay, your vocal cords and then your throat chakra. And there's the vagus nerve that runs through the throat chakra and all kinds of stuff like that, okay? We're not going to get too technical because, people like, what is he talking about? Okay, but I can tell you that, it's been an interesting journey for me because I'm not supposed to be here, okay? Because when I was 17, these guys, okay, and I say guys because it wasn't just this one guy, okay? So these people, okay, and I don't know exactly who the background guys were, okay, and this is the biggest mystery of my life. I did a podcast on it. Go look. It's called I Was Drugged, okay? Go listen to that podcast. But anyway, so that happened, right? And that was supposed to make me a vegetable and basically knock me out of the game because they drugged me with a marijuana joint, right? And I was a teenager. I was 17. And they put all kinds of stuff. Oh, man. So, I mean, angel dust, all kinds of crap. So it made my ADHD very much more intense and scattered and shattered and whatever, okay? And I had to work with those pieces, okay? And so what I'm about to tell you is going to be even more significant, I would think, or I would hope, because I'm trying to make an impression on you that you can do it too, that you can overcome no matter what, okay? Because, you see people, right? They go off to war, they get their legs shot off, they come back, they get new, right? Artificial limbs, right? The bionic legs or whatever it's called. And then they run faster than when they had legs. Right? So human beings adapt. Human beings are resilient. Okay? And part of this resilience is your voice. Okay? Because your voice tends to focus you in the moment. Okay? So the exercises that I do with people to relieve them of anxiety pull them into the moment and they cannot think of anything else. Why is that? Because they're pushing with force. Okay? Because I get them to push as hard as and as strong as they can, and their voice also develops at the same time. So by the maybe third session, it's significantly stronger, and then the effect is stronger as well. And these people begin to heal. Okay? Now, when I look back on my life, I go, whoa, I really needed to heal. I really needed, when I first had that thing, right? So the doctors didn't know what was wrong. They knew it was a drug-induced psychosis. Okay, so they put me on all these pills, all this medicine, whatever. And this one doctor was very fond of like trying all kinds of crap. And so one time he pushed me all the way down into a depression. Which is why I understand. So it was the best thing for me because now I get people who are depressed, right? I got one girl offered depression meds, and I talked about that in the last podcast. Okay. And her mom, like when her mom sent me that text, it was the most special thing for me. Like no kidding. Like the most special thing, at the time that I can recall. And in my teaching career, I think, although other people have gotten off meds and whatever, but this girl was young. She started, experimenting with ecstasy at 13. And then at 14, she came to me. And, when she was almost 15, she left. And boom, I got a text like maybe a couple months before she left. And then she was good and she left. And, hopefully she's okay now. And hopefully she's leading a great life now. I haven't kept up with my students, but you know what? Something interesting happens because my students always know where to find me because of social media, because of websites, or, whatever. And once in a while, some of them will pop in and they go, hey, uncle, guess what I'm doing now? I'm doing this, did this, and they show me, and they send me pictures and I'm like, whoa, so the life of a teacher is not, it's not supposed to really, how can I say, result in billions of dollars, okay? It's not designed to make you wealthy in the monetary way, okay? It's just not. Because this university professor, right, that I went out with for a little while, she was very esteemed. She was in chapters of books, and the Catholic university that she was working for was paying her pennies. I'm not kidding. Like way below what I would think a university would pay, and it was under $50,000 a year. Okay, if you can believe that. But this was back in 2010. Okay, so you can do the math and whatever. But it was terrible. It was really terrible for who she was and her capabilities and her knowledge and her expertise. And then, it was sad. It was really sad. But that's the education thing, okay? But these people inspire others, okay? Teachers, right? Our job is to inspire, to enlighten, and to go, hey, look, think of this think of this way, okay? Because if you think this way, then, and they oh, I never thought of it that way. And this is what the doctors that I train, and the professionals that I train, the CEOs that I train, the attorneys that I train, okay, they know their stuff. Okay, and if you were to put me up against them, right? You put me up against the doctors, I don't know anything. Okay, but here's the thing that I'm going to share with you, and please, professionals, don't take this the wrong way. Okay, but education is a form of ignorance. Ooh, uncle, you went there? Like, yeah, I went there. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, so there's another aspect to it. Okay, the farther into education that you get conditioned, it takes you farther and farther away from the infinite knowledge you were born with. Okay, all right. I'll repeat that. Okay, the deeper you get into education, the more educated you are. Okay, the farther away you get from the infinite knowledge that's already in you. Okay, because what do I do with these professionals? Well, I have to cue them into that. I have to point that out. Not just point it out, I have to go down and penetrate layers and layers of conditioning. Because they need to entertain the idea, first of all, that God is real. Okay, because I believe God is real. And if you don't believe God is real, okay, no problem. Okay. But I have a hard time with people that, let's say don't believe in God or don't believe that or think it's just them or they're just, they just happen to be here for a little while and then boom, they're gone and that's the end of it. Like that. Okay. Because there is a divine spark. Okay. And it's called you. You are the divine spark. You are an extension of that creator. Okay. And with you comes a voice. And your voice is very, very important because it carries energy, frequency, and vibration. The things that Nikola Tesla said would explain the universe, or you can understand the universe better by those things. Okay. Tesla went into a whole bunch of mathematics. And it was very interesting that Tesla died poor. Okay. And all of his inventions, everything was all stolen from him. Okay. And he died poor. Okay. But, there's a conspiracy part to that. Okay. But Einstein, on the other hand, was the golden boy. Okay. And then you have Tesla calling his work mathematical garb. Okay. And then you have the principle of it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay. So anyway, I'm saying all of these things for some background. Okay. Because it doesn't matter who the clique is, right? It doesn't matter who's against you. It doesn't matter that you have haters. In fact, you should be grateful for your haters. I'm so happy I had haters. I still have them. They follow me on social media now. But they were more vocal and they struck out more in the physical world when I worked in the physical world. Okay. So, and at that time, right? I always make reference to the fact that I work online now. So nobody sees me work. Nobody sees the advertising. Well, sometimes they do. Okay. But when we run a Google ad, for example, nobody sees it on Facebook. Nobody sees it on Instagram. Nobody sees it on social media, right? But it's happening. And it's happening in another, let's call it another dimension, if you will, but in another sector, okay? In another avenue, okay? But then nobody sees these things, and you can build, okay? And nobody's there to tear you down. And that's what I found that was so appealing for me with social media. Okay, because I could just build, do, and what? Like, nobody's there to tear me down. Okay, after a while, I got kind of lonesome though. I gotta, because back in the day, right? These guys used to try to like pull me down with stuff, right? And so I used to concoct these stories, right? And if I wanted to find out, like, okay, is this guy for real? Is that guy? I would tell him a story, and guess what? The story would travel all the way around. Like sometimes I would hear this from people across the island, and they would, eventually come and tell me, hey, you know what? So and so said this, and I'm like, oh, really? And then I would think to myself, it's working. Okay, so love your haters. Okay, love your haters, but you can use your haters. Okay, you can use your haters. So there's there's a telegraph. Okay, telephone and tell your haters. Okay, because they'll tell everybody. They'll just spread it. Okay, and this is part of speaking things into reality. Okay, your voice can do that. Okay, yes, it's subconscious. Yes, part of it is subconscious, but part of it is vibrational. Now, when we get into the subconscious, I can explain it scientifically. When we get into the spiritual aspect of it, I cannot. Okay, because the spiritual aspect of things, okay, that spiritual side of things cannot be proven. Okay, just like God. Okay, but I can tell you God's real. You know why? Because when I pray, like boom, it comes out. Okay, and there's a back end to that, and that I believe, and it's just my opinion. Okay, it's not fact. It's my opinion. It's my opinion that when you condition your subconscious over years and years and years, like I've done, okay, and I put videos up on social media about this. Like I show them all the tablets. I had one video with all the tablets. I don't know, maybe 20 tablets, 15, 20 tablets, something like that. I don't think it was quite 20. I think it was more like 15 to 18. And these tablets over the years, right? And they're just legal tablets, and I, write my affirmations. Okay, but this is important that you do that. It's important that you condition your subconscious. What are you doing when you do that? You are opening the door between you and God. Okay, you are stimulating that pathway. You are forming that neural pathway. Okay, from you to God. Okay. Because neural pathways, it's the same thing when you learn how to play the piano, learn how to play the guitar, learn how to do puzzles, learn how to blah, blah, blah. Okay, but that happens. Okay, and you build that relationship between the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. And when you have synchronicity, when you have synergy between the three, when you have the three operating, okay, and cooperating, okay, and not just cooperating, but, when the three are in agreement, guess what happens? Just about anything. Just about anything. That's where my horse came from. That's where my career came from. That's where my bicycle came from. That's where, like, all these things just came. Like, it was almost like magic. Okay. And still, when I need money, okay, what do? Well, I put my screensaver on my phone, okay, a bunch of money, bunch of $100 bills, okay, a bunch of Benjis, okay, and then what do? Well, then I write an affirmation. And then what do? Then I speak the dream, okay, and the words are bring money. That's it, bring money. Okay, but I don't say it like that. I say it like this, bring money, bring money. Okay, there you go. I don't want to, like, blow everybody's ears out, but I do it pretty powerful. Okay, because I am imprinting it in my subconscious as well. Okay, now the vibration is going out into the universe as well. Do we have scientific proof of that? No, not at all. Okay, but if you are indeed an extension of the Creator, if you are in the belief system that you are a co-creator with God, if you believe that God is within, the kingdom is within, like Jesus Christ said. Okay, there's a lot of people who said that. Gautama Buddha said the same thing. Krishna said the same thing. Okay, but if you believe in that the kingdom is within, I know some Christians that are dirt poor. They're poor, and they're wearing poverty like a badge of honor, and they're proud of being poor. Okay, being poor is not something to be proud of. Okay. I mean, you got to be proud of yourself. You got to believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, and if you are proud of yourself, not like, what we call in Hawaii, big head, not big head. Okay. Not ego. I'm not talking about that kind of proud. I'm talking about when you have personal pride in yourself, like you dress properly, like you carry yourself well, like you speak with manners, like you're nice to people. Okay, or you're cordial. You don't have to be nice, okay? I'm not nice. I'm nice to the people I like. To the people I don't like, I'm just, like, normal, okay? Compare it to, I don't know, whatever. Like, sometimes I say regular. I'm just regular, okay? Normal, okay? I'm not overly like, hey, hi, how are you? I'm not like that. I hate those people, really. I really do. I don't like those kind of people because they're putting on a show, right? And then when you turn, try this, check this out. Okay. When you see somebody, you want to know how they really feel about you. Okay. And you get one of those big smiles, like, hey, hi, how are you? Okay. As soon as you pass them, or as soon as you look away, do a double take like that. Oh, check them Hawaiians. One more time. There you go. Whoa, hanaho. There you go. Hanaho in Hawaii means do it again. All right, that's for my Hawaiians. Okay, anyway, so but take a double take, okay, and watch all of that energy disappear. Like, it'll disappear in a second. Why? Because it was put on. Okay, if you glance back and it's still there and they still look pleasant, okay, then they meant it. Mm-hmm. There's something called micro expressions that you need to look into as well. Okay, micro expressions. Just look it up and study it. Okay, because people have no control over micro expressions, and that gives them away every single time, like every time. Okay, and that's how I check people. Okay, because you'll ask them a question or you'll say something and watch for the micro expressions. Okay. And then if you really want to test it, you'll say the same line of comment again with maybe another aspect of it or something related to it. You get that again. There you go. There is your confirmation. Okay. So, and I teach my students how to do this. I teach my clients how to do this. Okay. Because they need to know how to navigate in the world. They need to, especially my CEOs, my business people, my department heads, my attorneys, those people. And they consider it like, whoa, wow, they consider it a bonus. And it's not part of my curriculum per se, okay? But I teach it to them because they need to know, okay? And guess what? Most of these guys don't know. Why? Because it wasn't taught in law school. It wasn't taught in med school. It wasn't taught in, okay? Unless they're the psychologists, yeah, they probably know, okay? But you'd be surprised because I teach a lot of psychologists, okay? And they know it from the book, like they've learned it from the book. They've never seen it in person. They've never done it in person. There's a lot of things that they haven't done or experienced in person, including working with their voice and affecting their vagus nerve. But they know what it does. They studied it. They understand what it is, but they've never done it. And then when they do it, it's like, whoa. I told the story on the last podcast. I told a story about this psychiatrist, okay? And because he was into yoga and, all that mystic stuff and mysticism and, all of that, right? And if that's, what floats your boat, okay. Okay, but because he was into all of that, and then he experienced what I did with him, with his voice, and then he couldn't explain it, right? And it freaked him out. He never came back. Okay. So, but most of my clients, okay, the majority of my clients, that doesn't happen. What happens is they go, whoa, I never knew this was possible. And then they start bringing in money, and then they start bringing in things, and then things start opening up for them. And then I become their biggest secret. I mean, no, seriously. You would think that I would have like all these recommendations and people would be lining up and no, because people are competitive, okay, especially women, and they're my number one demographic. Okay, they're competitive. Okay, the last thing a woman wants to do is help her competition. Okay, so there's that. All right, but anyway, but your voice is powerful, like very, very powerful. Okay, and it does affect your emotions. Okay, so here's the thing. Your eyes are the mirrors of your soul. Okay, your voice is the mirrors of the feelings and emotions. Okay, now when you get into frequencies, raising your frequencies, you can tune a human being like you tune a musical instrument through their voice. And what happens is their frequency gets higher and higher and higher. And what does that mean? Well, emotional frequencies in humans, okay, is based on emotion. Okay. So that's frequency in human beings. It's not resonance like, two tuning forks or whatever, like in science. It's a little bit different. So we call emotional frequencies, okay, raising your vibration. And the highest is love. So if we go down from love, it's love, peace, gratitude, joy, passion, excitement, enthusiasm, hope, and satisfaction. If you're satisfied, that's the start. That's the very, very start. Okay. And people say never be satisfied, right? Don't be satisfied. Don't just take that, right? Okay? And there's a reason they say that. Okay? Because you need to strive for the peaks. You need to strive for love. Love is at the peak. Love is at the very top. Okay? So you need to aim there. Okay? Now the lowest is fear. Okay? Now if we go down, let's say we go from the highest negative vibration, which is worry. Okay? When you're worried, that's the beginning of negative vibrations. Okay? If you're expressing worry through your voice, okay? In other words, if you're walking around going, I don't know how I'm going to pay my phone bill. I don't know how I'm going to do. I don't know why I put up with this stuff at my job. If you're doing that, okay, you are speaking conditions into existence. Okay? Believe it or not. Okay? And I'm not here like, to try to get you to take this as gospel. Okay, but if you're a Christian, you already know. If you're a Christian, it's in your Bible. Okay, so read your Bible. Okay, If you're not a Christian, then okay, but do your research. Go ahead, go check it out. But it's in esoteric knowledge, okay? It's in ancient practices, because in the modern world, they don't discuss it, they don't teach it, they don't acknowledge it. Why? Well, because we have all these distractions going on. Okay, and they would rather they are the powers that be wherever. Okay, whatever, the powers that be, pertaining to whatever it is you're involved with. But the powers that be don't want thinkers. Okay, they don't want thinkers. They want workers. They want worker bees. They don't want supervisors. Okay, they get the supervisors. They get a bunch of them, but they want more people. Just doing the groundhog work. Okay, and that's how it's been throughout society. Okay, the Industrial Revolution was a classic example of that. In Hawaii, we had plantations. They wanted laborers. They did not want supervisors. They brought in supervisors, okay, but they wanted laborers. They weren't interested in educating the laborers. Okay, they were just interested in getting them out to the field and, okay, come on, harvest. Or plant or whatever it was. All right, so if you're at worry, that's the highest low frequency, the highest low vibration. Okay, now in descending order, going down, it's worry, irritation, disappointment, criticism, anger, hate, boredom, envy, despair, grief, guilt, shame, and then fear at the bottom. So fear is the opposite of love. Okay? Think of the yin and the yang, two polar opposites. Okay? Think of that. Okay, when you see the yin and the yang, there's a reason why one is white and one is black. Okay, the dark and the light. Okay, and I'm not going to get into the religious side of it. I'm not going to get into too much of the spiritual side of it. Okay, but I can tell you, if you're speaking dark, you can speak dark into your life. If you're speaking dark, okay, I hear people that speak dark. I see comments on social media that are dark, okay? And I know already what they're like. I can read, not by one comment. I go and look at their stuff, and I'm like, ooh, ouch, yeah? And I'm like, well, I would love to say, hey, you know what? If you spend 12 weeks with me, I can fix it. I would love to do that. Can I do that? No. Does it work? No. Never. So there's a reason why, okay? There's this expression that says, seek and ye shall find. Okay, because you got to seek it. Okay, you cannot go up to someone and say, hey, you got to do this, do that, whatever. My job is very different as a life coach. As a life coach and teacher, it's very, very different, because it has to be to where somebody wants to change, where somebody is tired of the same old thing, going in circles, having the same old drama, the same old tension, the same old anxiety. Okay, everything that I relieve in them. Okay, but after a while of conditioning like that, it starts to feel normal. Okay, and believe it or not, when people start having good days, okay, something inside of them starts going, hey, what happened to the drama? And the subconscious brings it back. Okay, but your voice can clear that. Now, how does the voice clear that? Well, it's something called cognitive diffusion, and I really haven't discussed too much of this, because there are layers of this stuff, okay? And it goes really deep. It goes deeper than I understand, okay? I just understand so many levels, but I'm operating at the point where people come in with anxiety, okay? They leave brand new people. I have this college professor. Okay, she's a provost, a vice provost. Okay, for a very prestigious university in California. I'm not going to say which one. Okay, but she is highly esteemed, highly revered. She is like in the highest of the university, well, almost at the very top. Okay, almost. She's a vice provost. Okay, so but in her world, like, she kills it. Okay, in her world, she is like amazing. And it was so, like, I want to say, an honor to take her in and work with her. And you know what happens? When you're pulling someone out of their conditioning, okay? When you're setting someone free from the prison that is the subconscious, it's a very rewarding thing to watch, to witness. Okay. So what happens is, right, I take them on this scales, right, and we get like way high, and then they burst into tears, just tears, and we have to stop. It's the same thing that happened to the psychiatrist, okay? That happens to a lot of people. Why? Because everything is stored in your nervous system. Everything is stored in there, in your body. That's why it's called somatic healing. Okay, so what is cognitive diffusion? What is that? Well, it's what allows you to become, or eventually become, in my process, in my 12-week process, you eventually become the observer. Okay, instead of being consumed by your emotions and your habits, right, which is subconscious patterns. Okay, the patterns that are established. Okay, you start to experience a shift. Okay. Now, from the observer's perspective, you are no longer operating on subconscious autopilot. It separates you from that. But the word in psychology that they use is interrupt. Okay. And what does it interrupt? It interrupts the neural pathway that is your reaction or your triggers, your reaction to your triggers. Okay. And it becomes a habit. Why? Because the subconscious goes, oh, okay, we're doing that. Because it happens with emotion. Anything you do with repetition and emotion goes into your subconscious, and pretty soon you can't tell the difference. You're doing stuff. You don't even know why. You just do it, and you go, oh, well, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, whatever. Okay. And then you do it again. Okay. But with someone of such a high educational level, okay, we're talking about a professor. Okay. It was so awesome to just watch this professor bloom like a rose. It was like whoa. And everything within comes out. What am I talking about? Infinite knowledge. And this is why the people that I work with, the professionals, the lawyers, the doctors, and I serve a physicians group. There's a group of physicians. I'm going to present to them in December. And I hope I'm ready, but I'm going to present to them in December as a group. Okay. And that's going to be spooky. Okay. Because every single one of them are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And if I make a mistake or say something woo-woo, something that leaves the scientific mind, they're going to look at me like, oh, geez, so I have to be careful. Okay. But the reason why I mix things, and if you see my posts on social media, any channel, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you see it, right, you're going to hear sort of mixed referencing. And it's not that I'm trying to confuse people. It's not that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. It's not that. It's that there's people that believe in God and people that don't believe in God, and people that believe that God is within, and people who just think, well, whatever, God is a possibility. Okay. And I'm here to tell you, like, I've seen so many things, not witness things like, ghosts or spirits like that. No, like witness things that I do within me that turns out in the physical world. And I go, whoa, how the heck did that happen? Prayer, meditation. Okay. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, and prayer. I don't use the fifth pillar, prayer. I use it for me, okay? Because prayer is a personal thing as far as I'm concerned. So I just say affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. But meditation is almost the same, because in meditation, you can ask. And when you ask in meditation, God goes, okay, here you go. It's amazing. It's amazing. Now, when you become the observer, okay, you can observe your thoughts. Okay, when you think a thought, guess what follows? An emotion. Guess what happens when the emotion hits? Okay, most likely an action or another thought that brings another emotion. Okay, but when you let's say thought, emotion, action. Okay, what happens after an action? A result. what happens after the result? You evaluate it instantaneously in the way of, oh, that was a good thing, or, oh, that was a bad thing, right? Now, you're going to feel that. When you feel that, guess where it goes? It goes in your subconscious. Then what? Well, eventually, after you repeat it, okay, and the reason why we can repeat so easily is because one thought can turn into another thought, another thought, another thought. Okay, so let's take a look at how these things happen. You think a thought, you feel the emotion, okay, and then you take an action, you get a result, you judge the result, it goes in your subconscious, and then you repeat it again. Now, your amygdala's job is to alert you. So when you think a negative thought or something bad, like, I wonder if XYZ can happen in this situation, and maybe XYZ is a bad thing, okay? So now what happens is, after 6 seconds, the amygdala, if you don't say no, if you don't say stop, if you don't switch your thinking, if you keep thinking about it for more than 6 seconds, okay? And it's not precisely 6, but let's just use that as a reference, okay? After 6 seconds, guess what happens? The amygdala kicks in, okay? And it starts to amplify in the name of survival. What happens? Well, you start thinking of more, right? Because now you have negative what ifs about that one thought. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? And if you grab hold of one of those thoughts for more than 6 seconds, what happened? Now you have a new layer. What does the amygdala do? It keeps on trying to have you survive, okay, because you're in survival mode at this point. What does it do? It gives you another host of choices. All right, how about this? How about this? What if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And then you grab one of those. It goes on and on. Some people repeat this process over and over and over and over until they need medication or professional help or counseling or therapy, whatever. Okay, but it's stoppable. It's preventable. Okay, I have to prevent it all the time. When I start having a bad thought, I hear, "Oh, ye of little faith," in my head. It's the funniest thing, right? Because my thoughts are like, "Oh, well, I wonder if this is going to happen," because I wrote my affirmation. I did this. I did all the stuff, whatever. Okay, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Now I want to know if this is going to happen. So sometimes I question, right? I believe you should question everything. And when I question, I hear this intuitive voice in my head going, "Oh, ye of little faith." And I'm like, whoa, thank you, Father God. And I switch my thinking and I try to relax. And I do relax, right? But it takes a second. It takes a couple of seconds. Okay, but it takes less than 6. Okay, in that entire process, you get the thought, "Oh, ye of little faith." Oh, jeez. Okay. There, like 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Okay. And that's my process. But I've been doing these affirmations for years and years and years and years. Okay. Like, it looks crazy. When people see my legal pads, they go, whoa, they think, "Oh, Uncle's not right." And no, Uncle is probably not right. Okay. According to what? I don't know, normal, according to education, I don't know, according to the norm, according to everybody's normally distracted, so focus looks different. I don't know, whatever. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm not saying, I'm just different. I'm different. But you know what? It works for me. And when I teach it to my students, it starts working for them. But then when I see them, like, I don't know, a year or two later or whatever, right? And I ask them how things are going, very few of those people tell me, "Oh, yeah, this is Uncle, I'm still writing. I'm still doing that. I'm still, doing all this stuff. I still do the meditation." They normally tell me, "Oh, well, I got busy. I got busy, and then I stopped meditating. I didn't, I don't really. I do it once in a while, like maybe. And when I ask, they go, "Oh, well, maybe like once a month." or whatever. Okay. No, you have to pray without ceasing. You have to meditate without ceasing. Okay. Do I take breaks in meditation? Yeah. but I make up for it. Okay. And you can make up for it. Okay. Let's say, for example, all right, that I don't know. I don't really have a good example because I'm working like in real time right now on the podcast. But if you had an example where, let's say you were doing something and you were like religious about it, or let's say faithful to it, or let's say consistent with it. Okay. And then you started sliding, which means you're not doing it, which means, I'm going to pass today, pass tomorrow, whatever. And maybe you pass for a little while. Okay. When you notice that things are starting to slip, and you will notice, because the old patterns will come back, okay? Then all you have to do, okay, is go back, okay? And start to put these things back into place. Start writing the affirmations again. Start doing everything again, okay? And remember where you were when everything was working. Even if you've never heard of my system, even if you've never heard of the forward method, you never heard of Junior Kekuewa Jr., you could care less, you just stumbled across this podcast, okay? But here's the thing, okay? Whatever was working when things were good for you, try to recall those things. Whatever you were doing at that period of time. I see all these people, right? I talk to them. Oh, man, I was making so much money 5 years ago. I was making so much money. And I go, what happened? Well, this happened. Then that happened. Then this happened. So what are you doing now? And none of them, absolutely none of them tell me, oh, well, I'm trying to do everything that I was doing back then that brought the money in. Not one of them. Not one of them. Because they're distracted. Okay, so don't let the distractions rule you. Don't let the distractions define you. Don't let the distractions take over. Okay, use your voice. Speak the dream. Okay, this is why we write the affirmation. So in my program, okay, the forward method, we write down the affirmation, but we speak it out loud at night. Why at night? Because at night, it's going to ruminate all night long in your subconscious. The last thing you speak is the first thing you remember. That's why people say prayers at night before they go to bed. Yeah, I know. Your grandmother probably never told you that. My grandmother never told me that. But that's why they do it at night. That's why you say your prayers before you go to bed. It's not because you're going to die in your sleep. It's not because of any superstitious stuff like that. No. Okay, way back in the ancient world, they taught these things. Okay, they don't teach them now. You'll never go to one of these, I don't know, what, Generation Xers or whatever. Okay, no disrespect, guys. Okay, there's some of them that listen to my show. But you'll never go up to one of them and go, hey, did anybody ever tell you why you should pray at night? Like why you should say your prayers before you go to bed? Okay, well, here's another thing, okay? You can actually speak your day ahead of time. Speak your day out loud. Okay, my conversation or my utterances, when I'm on my pillow, goes something like this. Thank you, Father God, for a beautiful day tomorrow. I'm going to make a difference with my clients. I'm going to get up and go to the gym. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to do something to make me healthy, yada, 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 whatever. Okay. And the next day, I feel better. Sometimes the workouts happen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I go walking for 5 miles, sometimes I just go for a short run. Okay, I call it walking because I walk and jog. I have asthma, so I can't run like everybody else runs. Okay, but I do what I can. Okay, and sometimes that happens. Okay, and sometimes I go 5 miles. I walk 5 miles. Okay, but anyway, what I'm getting at is when you do this, you prep yourself for the next day more than if you didn't prep yourself for the next day. Using your voice. Okay, use your voice. Your voice is very powerful. There was this one Hawaiian entertainer. He was from a very, very famous musical group, and gave me one of the biggest compliments I think any fellow musician ever gave me. And he was from this group. I guess I can name the group is still in existence, but he's no longer alive. He passed away. The group is the Makaha Sons of Makaha Sons. It used to be the Makaha Sons of Ni'ihau, and then, it kind of like morphed into what it is today. And And so there, I'm not going to mention the guy, okay, but he saw me in front of this marketplace that I was going. I was standing at the valet. I was valeting my car, and he came up to me and he said, "Brah." That's what we, instead of bro, okay, in Hawaii we say brah, and he goes brah, and he shook my hand and he said, "I wish I had your voice." And I was like, whoa, you know. But I used to do a lot with my voice. Okay, I can do like over 100 different characters with my voice, like different, for comedy stuff. I do a lot with my voice. I used to do voiceovers. I used to do, all kinds of things, right? So my voice always carried me. And the reason why my company's name is Voice Master is because I'm the voice, and my business partner was the master. He was blind and a pianist. And we'll tell that story some other time. Oh, I'm out of time, Hawaiians. But hey, use your voice, okay? Your voice is powerful. Speak the dream all the time, okay? Talk about what your next day is going to be like, and paint a nice picture, a nice verbal picture for yourself and your subconscious. All right? Until next time, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to acknowledge the people we got to acknowledge. Darren Chinin, AFM Hawaii Music. The AFMHawaiiMusic.com. Check him out. You can hire him for your party. Also, Voice Master Family of Service Companies. Okay. Thank you very much to our sponsors. And until next time, I'm Junior State. Mahalo and aloha.